Have you ever thought, why do I suck at fantasy football? Welcome. This is the Commissioner Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode here with the Commissioner, your host, your guide to another successful fantasy football season. Hopefully you're going to have success. And by success, I mean, again, having fun, because not everybody wins. So 1 out of 12, 1 out of 10 will win a championship. But it always reminds me of what Kobe Bryant said, enjoy the journey. Especially, I know it's just fantasy, but look, enjoy these week in and week out. Dropping players, picking up players, making trades, making adjustments. Enjoy it, because what you learn this year, you can apply for next year. And again, the more you play, the better you're going to be off, the more experience, the more practice. And again, paying attention to all the players and all the things that are happening with fantasy football. So we're going to go ahead and begin with week number 2, start or bench players. Again, in week 1, we learned a lot. I learned a lot. Again, I lost most of my matchups. I'm in 8 leagues. I lost 5 of them. 2 of them were super close. So it's frustrating, but again, enjoying and learning the journey is the key to fantasy football. So hopefully you're tuning in with me, and hopefully you're on this journey with me. So let's go ahead and begin from what we learned in week 1, starting to apply to week 2. So the first game is the Thursday night coming up game. So hopefully you're ready for this one. It is the Browns playing the Bengals. The Bengals are at the Browns. It's not a nice or enticing matchup to watch, but again, I have a lot of players in there. I think the Bengals are just coming up. They're the new team. Joe Burrow looked good in week 1, even though his fantasy might have not produced. But look, he looked good throwing the ball. He has confidence, and that's what you want from a fantasy football player or just an NFL player. You want a guy with confidence, and Joe Burrow, he's got that. So, all right, let's go ahead and begin with the Bengals. Look, Joe Mixon had a bad week. I have Joe Mixon, a lot of shares in Joe Mixon. It was a tough game. The Chargers have a good run defense. The game flow was very slow. They tried to run the ball. It didn't work. There's going to be adjustments made. So if you're a Joe Mixon owner, do not worry. Start him in this game. Do not worry about week 2. He might not have don't worry about week 1. He might not have the greatest performance here in week 2, but I still see him getting closer to 100 yards at this time, getting maybe a few more catches, and I think he's going to come up with a touchdown. So AJ Green, I would start as well. He was the most targeted by Joe Burrow in week 1's game. Tyler Boyd, I think he had some targets, but they came late. But I know Joe Burrow's going to start looking for Tyler Boyd. He was the second targeted player. So if you have Tyler Boyd, starting him here, unless you have better options, I wouldn't mind starting Tyler Boyd as well. I think he's got some upside. And look, if you picked up Joe Burrow, and I have him one league, which that league I completely lost. So no matter what Joe Burrow did, I went against Aaron Rodgers and a bunch of other guys that just went off. So it doesn't really matter, but if you really need to start a quarterback and you don't have anybody and you had Joe Burrow, you could start him, but I bet a lot of people out there have better quarterbacks. So he's not a start for me, but if you're in the pinch, look, I'm starting him because I think he might have a better game playing a less effective defense. Again, you're sitting John Ross, you're not using Uzama, the tight end, you're not starting the Bengals defense on this one, even though it's the Browns, I wouldn't do that. Let's go to the Browns side. So the Browns were kind of interesting also to watch. They had a tough matchup as well. They were playing the Ravens, which again blew them away like they always do. So the Browns didn't look good, but I still have some hopes for this team. I'm not giving up on the Browns. I want to see what they do tomorrow. It's great that they're playing Thursday, that you can really watch and focus on this game. And again, a lot of times people don't like watching the Browns, but you're going to have to if you want to watch your football tomorrow. Again, Nick Chubb, he's again less effective with Kareem Hunt there, and that's a problem. So with Nick Chubb, you got to start him. But again, I want to watch this game and see how they split the carries again, because Hunt got more carries than Chubb, he got more passing targets and more carries. But again, they were behind too. So that's another thing to factor into when you look at the stat lines, right? Kareem Hunt has more carries. Well, they were behind. So that will happen with another running back, the second running back on the team. So don't worry about that. I think Hunt is a good start in PPR if you need to. So Chubb is a start. Jarvis Landry in PPR is still a start for me in this game. The Bengals are not a great defense. Again, OBJ, he's the most traded player this week. Everybody's been trading him. He was targeted like over 10 times in this game. So Mayfield will target OBJ. So he might end up a great game. I know a lot of people won't start him. He's a 50-50 for me. Just something's off. I don't know what it is. But hopefully everybody sits OBJ and he has a great game and people get back on track with him. That's what I'm hoping for. Austin Hooper is an interesting start because Njoku went down. He's on the IR. So if you're in the pinch and you're looking to start a tight end, Hooper has some targets. So he's somebody to look into. I wouldn't start Baker Mayfield. And again, Njoku is injured and the Browns defense I'm not starting. They're decent, but they're not that great. All right, let's move on to a Sunday morning game. These are all AFC games again, and we have 4 NFC AFC games. So I'll do the AFC NFC 2 games this time, and for the next round, I'll do the other 2 games. So another AFC game. This is a Sunday morning. This is Jaguars at the Titans. Again, the Jaguars are a surprise. Minshew wants to prove something, and I love it. I love the way he plays. I love, again, confidence. Joe Burrow and Minshew, they have that confidence. Again, I wouldn't start Minshew in this game just because I don't think his passing volume is really heavy. So he's not getting a lot of yards, but I definitely want to see how they progress into this game against another good defense. So the Titans are a good defense. I would start the Titans defense. So going with the Jaguars, DJ Chark only got 3 targets, 3 receptions, 3 targets. He did salvage the game by getting a touchdown. So I don't know if that was maybe the Colts defense was pretty good. And the stat lines don't show that they were good, but they're a good defense. So maybe they took him out, but there's all other weapons on the Jaguars, and I'll talk about them. James Robinson, look, he was named the starter, and he surprised everybody. 16 carries, 62 yards, 1 passing target, which he got a lot of yards on. But I still think when they're behind, and they might be behind in some games, Chris Thompson will come along. I wouldn't start Chris Thompson until they show more interest in passing to him. Again, he is on the new team. I thought they would use him more, but they weren't really behind that much in this game. So, Laviska Shenault Jr., he looks amazing. They used him he had 4 targets, 3 receptions, but they also used him. He carried the ball a few times. So it looks like they're integrating him into the offense. He's a rookie. He's a very talented rookie. So I would look to possibly start him if you have to. If you're in an injury risk and you picked him off the waivers, I would start him, but he's a if. The most targets went to Chris Conley, which I was surprised with. But again, that might be the Colts defense pressing on DJ Chark, their biggest weapon basically. So DJ Chark is a start, but I think it's going to go back to more passing for more targets for DJ Chark. I can pronounce his name. All right, for the Titans, you start Derrick Henry. He's getting too much work. I don't know if he's going to break down, but again, he's going to get majority of the work, so he's a workhorse. A.J. Brown didn't do a lot in the first half against the Broncos, but like he came through, and in the second half, it looks like he was back. So don't give up on A.J. Brown. He will be back. So just start him. He's a must start. Ryan Tannehill might be a streaming quarterback if you need a pinch quarterback to start. Titans defense is a good start. And Corey Davis had a great game, so everybody's like trying to talk up Corey Davis, but he's been around for a while. He has done nothing in the past. He'll have a good game like this, and then he'll disappear. So watch out, see if he has another good game, but I would not start him or Jonnu Smith in this game. All right, so we're moving on to the Bills and Dolphins. Not much to talk about here, except, look, the Bills look good. They look like the best team in that division. Josh Allen, he's a must start all the time. He's got that rushing base. Devin Singletary, for me, is a start in this game. He got the most carries and the more receptions than Zach Moss. So he's a good start. Zach Moss is still a watch for me. I thought he would get more work, but it looks like Singletary still has more work. Stephon Diggs is a start. You got to start him. Even though he didn't get a touchdown, but he got a lot of targets. So it looks like they're using Diggs. Josh Allen's going to use Diggs. And again, start the Bills defense. I would sit John Brown. He got that touchdown to salvage his game, but I'm not sure still about him. He might be a good start. especially against the Dolphins. Cole Beasley, no. Dawson Knox, the tight end, again, he's just touchdown dependent. Let's go to the Dolphins. If Devontae Parker is playing, he's injured, monitor his injury. If he's playing, start him. Preston Williams as a 50-50. The Bills' defense is really good. Again, you're sitting Ryan Fitzpatrick, Mike Gesicki's. You got to watch for him. He's probably in the waivers now. Jordan Howard, Matt Breida, and the guy there that kind of a surprise. So look for that third running back, Gaskins. So, and the Dolphins defense you sit. So those two running backs, Jordan Howard and Matt Breida, are not really panning out. So kind of watch this game to see what they do with the third running back. Just for if you have a bench spot on your bench, hey, go get him, because next week he might be the biggest waiver pickup. All right, let's go to game number 4. We're almost halfway there. We got the Chiefs at the Chargers. Chargers didn't win the game, but they didn't look good last week. Like, the Chiefs are the Chiefs, so you expect a lot from them. They're facing a better defense, I think, compared to the Texans from last week. But again, Patrick Mahomes is a start, Tyreek Hill is a start, CEH is a start, and Travis Kelce is a start. You're sitting Matt McCole Hardman. Look, until Hill gets injured, McCole Hardman is a sit all the time. Darrell Williams is an interesting pickup just because you never know what's going to happen with CEH. So he's also somebody to stash on your bench. Sammy Watkins had a good game, but again, I want to see what they do week 2. He's always had good week 1 games, but I really want to see what they do in week 2. So I wouldn't start him. Demarcus Robinson got a bunch of he almost had a touchdown. He had a bunch of targets, but he didn't pan out. So I kind of also watch for him how they use him. Again, KC can use anybody. So Patrick Mahomes will use everybody. KC defense, I wouldn't start in this game, but they might be a good start. It's a 50-50 for me. Going to the Chargers is really interesting. Again, KC defense is okay. It's mediocre in the middle pack. You start Austin Eckler, you have to. Keenan Allen, you start, and now you start Mike Williams. Mike Williams was getting a lot of targets. Taylor was throwing a lot of deep passes, which I like to see, and I love Mike Williams. A big body guy. A great player, can catch the ball. Hunter Henry is a good start, I think, for me as well, because looks like they're throwing the ball. And Joshua Kelly, I think for me, it's still sit and watch, but he got a lot of work. It was shocking that Austin Eckler, I think, only had 1 reception, which was just mind-boggling. But that's, again, they don't have no Phillip Rivers. But Austin Eckler did get a bunch of carries, so that was nice and surprising. But look, Austin Eckler is still the main guy there. Start him. Tyrod Taylor, you said Chargers defense, sit in this game because it's the Chiefs. Moving on to game number 5, Ravens at Texans. All right, Ravens, pretty easy. Lamar Jackson, you start. Mark Ingram, you start. Marquise Brown, you start. You start Mark Andrews, and you start the Ravens defense. I mean, what else are you going to do at this game? J.K. Dobbins got 2 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, but he didn't get a lot of work. I would still, if you need to start somebody, sure, but I still would not start J.K. Dobbins yet. Until he gets more work, that's what I'm looking for. Miles Boykin, same thing, the other wide receiver I wouldn't start. So pretty easy game. Going to the Texans, Deshaun Watson, you start. Again, it's a good defense, but you start Watson. Even if he has a bad game, there's going to be garbage time, just like the first game. David Johnson, you have to start. Ravens defense, again, it's a good defense, but David Johnson will get majority of the work. He'll get the passing, especially PPR. He'll get passes. Will Fuller, you start. Everybody else for me is a sit. Cooks is a sit. Fells is a sit. Cobb is a sit. I think Duke Johnson, pretty much nobody's really playing him. But Texans defense is a sit. Kenny Stills, all the other players are just sits for me. So that game's pretty easy. Moving on to game number 6, Broncos at Steelers. Again, Steelers defense looked good. Giants didn't do too bad against them. If you watch the game entirely, I was pretty shocked. The Giants actually had some game plans that Steelers came through, though. Again, their defense is superior, but it looks like the Giants look better than I expected. So I think the Broncos, again, they're not that great of an offense, so this is going to be another good Steelers defense game. So start the Steelers defense. For the Broncos, start Melvin Gordon, but lower your expectations. He had that touchdown. Again, he played against a good defense, the Titans. Now he's playing another good defense, so it's hard. For me, it's a 50-50. If you have somebody better to start, but if you're starting Melvin Gordon, like I might be in one league, lower your expectations. Cortland Sutton, if he plays, he's a start. You have to start him. He will get majority of the targets. And Noah Fant. And you start Noah Fant if Cortland Sutton isn't playing. He's so good. Noah Fant is so good, and just catch anything. Everybody else for me is a sit. Monitor Lindsey's injury. Jerry Jeudy's a sit. Looks like he still has some development. Hamilton's a sit. Drew Lock is a sit. And Broncos defense is a sit. For the Steelers, Connor O'Connor. He's Mr. Glass. That's what I'm calling him now. He's supposed to be the bell cow. I trusted him, and I took him in 2 leagues. I wanted to take, a flyer on him. Again, I drafted him like in the 4th, 5th round, so for me it wasn't a big investment. But man, he lost me 2 games, close games. All he needed to is pull through. He didn't. It's frustrating, but that's what happens. So he still might play week 2, so monitor his injury. And if you picked up Benny Snell, a lot of people put waivers in him for Benny Snell. He's the next guy up. So if you have Benny Snell, Connor doesn't play, Benny Snell is a must start. If Connor plays, I'm not starting him. I'm worried about this injury. So for me, he's a sit. Big Ben is a start. Juju looks so good. I'm happy to see Juju back. I don't have him in any of my leagues, but I'm happy to see him back. Deontay Johnson got a lot of targets. He made a few mistakes, but again, he's young. And again, Steelers defense is a start. I thought Eric Ebron would do something in this game, but nothing. James Washington can be a start. He's a deep threat. Vance McDonald was nothing, so all the tight ends did nothing in this game. All right, moving on to Game 7. You got the Vikings. So this is an AFC, NFC game. You got the Vikings going to the Colts. Look, my Packers took care of the Vikings very easily. Packers were a surprise for me, but the Vikings still, they're a run-heavy team, so you start Dalvin Cook and you start Adam Thielen. That's it. And this team, there's nobody else to really start with, so you could start Madison if you really need to. Again, I don't know how far they're going to be behind in this game, if the Colts are going to take it to them. I don't know. But look, for me, Madison is a sit, Jefferson is a sit, Kirk Cousins, the Vikings defense is a sit. So really for the Vikings right now, you always start Thielen, you always start Dalvin Cook. They're just good. They get most of the targets, they get most of the carries. Now for the Colts, T.Y. Hilton didn't have a good game, but again, you have to start him. Jonathan Taylor is now the guy there. So look, Mac went down. He might be out for the season. Jonathan Taylor is the big winner. Whoever drafted Jonathan Taylor, we don't want to see players go down and get injured, but all the Jonathan Taylor owners are pretty happy with regards to fantasy, not having Mac there. But the big upside is Nyheim Hines. He is the pass catcher, and Rivers loves to dump the ball away. So Taylor will benefit, Hines will benefit. They will use both. Good starts there. Everybody else, look, Campbell is a start for me. Looks like he got more targets, he got more receptions than Hilton, so he's a good start. For me, Colts defense is a sit. I'm not going to start them. Like, they need to prove they could turn over the ball from the other team. And again, the Vikings are not just a team that you could just run over. So they're a sit. Phillip Rivers is a sit. Michael Pittman Jr. still watching. Jack Doyle is still a sit. That's it for that game. And the last game is the 49ers at the Jets, another AFC, NFC matchup. 49ers go to the Jets. The Jets are just a dumpster fire. Bell is gone, so Bell is in the IR. They brought in Balaj, another running back. Frank Gore is there. Look, you don't want to start anybody from this game except maybe Jamison Crowder. They're going to be behind. They're going to be throwing the ball. Maybe Chris Herndon. He gets a lot of targets, the tight end. I don't want to start him in this game, but he's a future start. Him and Crowder might be the most targeted people now that Bell is on the IR for a few weeks. Hamstring injury, the one that he said he wasn't going to have. So everybody else is a sit. I'm not even going to mention their names. For the 49ers, if George Kittle's playing, you start him. Monitor his injury. Be prepared to have a backup tight end. Raheem Mostert is a must start. You got to start him. It looks like he's being used. And Jerick McKinnon looked good. So I'm happy to see Jerick McKinnon finally back on the field. He looked good and use him. And of course, you start the 49ers defense. Tevin Coleman, Jimmy Garoppolo is a sit for Deebo Samuel. Again, if monitor his injury. If he plays, he might be a good start in this game. It's an easy matchup. Jets' run defense is okay. So the running backs might have a great game, but look, the 49ers are supreme at running the ball. So basically, that's it for these games. I'll do another segment for the NFC, majority of the NFC matchups. So again, good luck in week 2. Any questions, hit me up on Instagram. If you have my number on YouTube, message me. Again, get ready for week 2, and we're just glad football is back. Look, COVID-19 hasn't affected anything so far. So far, so good. Let's enjoy this season, and again, go and get a win. And if you can't, okay, learn from it and move on. Never give up. All right? Until next time, take care, guys. Bye.
Dude, you better not be sleeping after that podcast. That was an amazing message. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Commissioner. Also subscribe on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Any comments, questions, concerns, send them to the Instagram page, The Commissioner, your fantasy football guide.